Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open what many call the Bible of investing, Security Analysis by Benjamin Graham and David Dodd. We're going to decode the core ideas that have been shaping fortunes for, well, almost a century now. All right, to really get what Graham and Dodd were on about, we first have to understand the problem they were trying to solve. And honestly, it's a problem that probably feels more real today than it ever has. You know, the financial world can just feel like a total madhouse, right? We're just drowning in these minute-by-minute updates, hot takes, and all that noise creates this herd mentality. This constant barrage pushes all of us to think short-term, and it makes it incredibly hard to just step back and think for yourself. So, in the middle of this financial wilderness, how do you find a clear path? This is the exact question Graham and Dodd set out to answer. They didn't just give tips. They basically created a map and a compass to help investors navigate through all that chaos. So, what is this map they came up with? Well, to really understand it, you have to go back to where and when it was created. Now, the context here is absolutely everything. Security analysis wasn't written during some big economic boom. No, it was forged in the fire of the Great Depression, right after the market had crashed and lost a mind-boggling 87% of its value. This wasn't a book about getting rich quick. It was a book about how to survive. And at the heart of their whole philosophy is this really powerful idea: value investing. The entire thing is built on the belief that, in the short term, the market, well, it often gets things wrong. There can be this huge gap between a stock's price and what the actual business is worth, what they called its intrinsic value. And value investing, it's just the discipline of finding that gap and using it to your advantage. And that leads us to the single most important distinction in their entire philosophy. This is the true north on their compass. Graham and Dodd basically said, look, price is what you pay. It's what the market, with all its fear and greed and popular opinion, says a stock is worth today. But value is what you get. It's what a deep, careful analysis tells you the business is actually worth for the long haul. Your job as an analyst is to figure out the value, completely separate from the price. And this quote just captures their point perfectly. You don't need to know a company's exact value down to the last dollar to know if it's a good deal. The idea is to figure out a reasonable range for its value and then just see if the current price is a total bargain in comparison. Okay, but spotting a potential bargain is really only half the job. I mean, the future is always uncertain, and even the smartest analysis can be wrong. So how do you protect yourself from your own mistakes and just plain bad luck? And that brings us to Graham and Dodd's most famous concept of all, the margin of safety. This is the bedrock of their entire approach to risk. It's not about trying to avoid risk completely. That's impossible. It's about managing it by demanding a buffer, a cushion, between the price you pay and the value you think you're getting. The analogy here is fantastic. Think about it. Buying a stock right at its full estimated value is like driving a truck across a bridge that's only rated for that truck's exact weight. There's zero room for error. The margin of safety is like building a much, much stronger bridge, one that gives you all that extra support to make sure you get to the other side safely no matter what happens. So in the real world, it's basically a three-step process. First, you do the hard work. You analyze the business and come up with a conservative estimate of its value. Then you wait. You have to be patient until the price falls way below that value. That discount you get, that's your margin of safety. It's your protection against a future you can't predict. Okay, so it's a totally fair question to ask. Does this map, drawn up during the Great Depression, still work in today's crazy, high-speed, global financial world? And yeah, it's true. Today's investors face a whole different set of challenges. There's this relentless pressure to show amazing short-term results. You've got academic theories telling you the market is always right. And there's just an absolute fire hose of information you have to sort through every single day. But here's the real twist. For a true value investor, these modern challenges, they aren't threats, they're opportunities. All that short-term thinking and herd behavior is exactly what creates the mispricings in the first place. The noise is what creates the bargains, but only for those who are patient enough to find them. Like the quote says, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Not at all. It's about getting rich slowly. The main goal here isn't to hit a bunch of home runs. It's to protect what you already have and just let it grow steadily over the long haul. And so at the end of the day, Graham and Dodd's work really leaves us with one fundamental question. You have to ask yourself, are you an investor focused on the real, long-term value of a business? Or are you a speculator just caught up in the day-to-day noise of the market? Because according to them, that one distinction, well, it makes all the difference in the world.